Good morning. So my name is Janet Keogh, and I'm a broker at Baird Warner. And today I asked Derek Malley and Ernest Rose to jump on a call with me because as we have seen an uptick in the market activity for buyers and sellers, a lot of questions have come my way about how to get pre-approved for a loan and what process the lawyer plays or what role the lawyer plays in the home buying process. So I am going to start by saying that this past weekend was the busiest we've seen in several weeks. More and more things are going under contract, and we are continuing to see new listings come to the market, and those, especially under $400,000, are moving relatively quickly, getting multiple offers and things like that. So Derek, I'm going to start with you. A lot of my first-time buyers have questions about how they get pre-approved and what are some of the first steps that they can take so that they're in a good position to purchase if they do see something they like.
Certainly. So with the pre-approval process, obviously we're looking at your income, your assets, and your credit. And from there, we're going to determine what you can purchase and under what kind of terms you can purchase. I've always said, and it still exists today, that it's never too early to get pre-approved. Because even if you don't end up purchasing or you go past the next couple months and don't find something you like, at least you kind of know what to anticipate, right? We're going to walk you through the process. We're going to be taking a look at the numbers, both as a mortgage payment as well as closing costs. And from there, you'll have a very good understanding of just exactly what you're getting yourself into. If it's nothing else, it's just going to help you go out there and shop and find a home that you like.
With that being said, now if they get approved, how long would that pre-approval be valid for?
So if you would have asked me that question 3 weeks ago, it's 90 days, right? Mm-hmm. Now with COVID, the impact it's having on the economy as well as the workforce, it's now 60 days. We're seeing a lot of banks, lenders tighten up their guidelines. That being said, we're not going to carry out their approval for 3 months. It's only 2 at this point in time.
And do you think that's because of just uncertainty with jobs? And I've heard that some of the larger banks are getting a little tighter on their qualifications for different types of loans.
Certainly. So again, with what's going on out there in the economy, a lot of people aren't working, they're on furlough, they may be losing their jobs, whatever it may be. That being said, mortgages are viewed as being a little bit more risky right now. So in that, lenders are tightening up their guidelines. We are seeing some big banks just get out of lending as a whole, right? I'm sure anyone heard Chase got out with anyone that's not under a 700 credit score, over a 700 credit score and 20% down, right? So a lot of that is a testament to what these banks are viewing as going on in the mortgage industry, but also the risk that it has in that not many people are working and paying the mortgages right now.
Got it. So what would your, say, top 1 or 2 types of loan programs be recommended? What would you recommend for a first-time buyer? Their job is stable and, they're just maybe looking for some guidance on down payment assistance programs or help with closing costs because they've got that down payment, but they don't want to stretch it too thin.
Right. So, I will tell you that a lot of programs have been impacted with what's going on right now. Now, your top tier selection clients or people over 700, putting down maybe more than 5%, they're not really affected right now. It's either your low credit score, low down payment FHA buyers. Also, people in your jumbo space are encountering a lot of trouble too right now. So your first-time home buyers, if they're coming in solid, have at least somewhat of a down payment put together, there should be programs out there for them, right? That being said, touching on that a little bit, we are seeing some changes to some of the down payment assistance programs as well. For instance, one of the big players, particularly in Chicago, would be IDA financing, where you're able to get some down payment assistance. In the past, IDA would have to count everyone's total household income for that product. When now we're just counting the income for whoever's on the application for that product. So some people that weren't able to qualify before because they made too much money, we're finding are now able to qualify.
Great. And just to clarify, IDA is the Illinois Housing Department Authority, and I have had first-time buyers use this program for Illinois, and it can be a great one to get your foot in the door, and especially in these entry-level properties where your payment's actually going to be lower than maybe your rent is. And to clarify what Derek said, even if you are a married couple, you can just have one person's income and information on that loan. So then you know you're staying well within your means to make the purchase. Is that right?
Correct. And also, it's worth noting, IDA has a income limit. So now that we're just able to use whatever household, not the household income, but the application income, that's opened up the doors for a lot of individuals that were not able to qualify beforehand.
Thank you. That's great to know. So second step to, the home buying process, you've got your pre-approval letter, and you and I have gone out and looked at places, and we make an offer and it gets accepted. So Derek will continue to be in that process, or whoever your loan officer is, and just continue to get information from you. The loan would be underwritten. There's an appraisal that happens. And we also would like to include a lawyer in this process, which is why I've brought Ernie on. He is an attorney that I've done dozens of deals with. And Ernie, just talk a little bit about what your role is for buyers and sellers, because I think sometimes it can be a surprise that people have to hire a lawyer for their transaction when in fact it is a legal process.
Yeah, absolutely. For most of my clients, this is the first, and for some of them, the only time they're going to hire a lawyer in their life. So if they're lucky enough, they may only interact with one of me. This is the biggest financial transaction that most folks will be involved with. And in Illinois, not all states, but in Illinois, each party is represented by an attorney. And we handle, I like to say that we kind of quarterback the situation and the transaction once you get under contract. So Janet's getting you to the point where we've got the contract, we've got the deal going, and she's still in the picture. And of course, the lender's still in the picture because they're going to provide the financing, and that process continues well after you go under contract. But we sort of coordinate all the pieces of the transaction. So once we go under contract, all the communications, for the most part, run through the attorneys. So I want to talk a little bit about when you buy, and then I'll talk a little bit about when you sell. When you're purchasing, first, as a first-time home buyer, there's a few steps that you're going to have right up front. So you're going to do an inspection of the property, and the attorney is going to review the contract. And we've got 5 business days for all that to happen. And then any changes that the attorney wants to make and any inspection requests that you have for the seller are going to run through my office. So we send a request over to the other side to take a look at, and we negotiate all those issues back and forth. So that's sort of the first big piece that we're involved with. If you're buying a condominium or a townhome, they're also going to get a tremendously large stack of association documents that you're going to have to dig through. Yeah, very big. and most of it, hopefully you don't have to read everything, but you're going to want to look at a lot of it. And you're going to need someone to bounce questions off. So my office will review the documents with you, answer any questions you have. And again, once you get that big stack of information, you've got 5 business days to make sure you're comfortable moving forward. And you're going to hear me referencing a lot of dates. Is the big picture part. That's also what we're doing. We monitor the dates. We make sure that you're meeting all the obligations of the contract and really making sure that your earnest money gets protected. So sort of the last pre-closing piece of that is we're in communication with your lenders. So for instance, at Derek's office, we probably do 50 to 75 deals together a year. We're in communication. We're able to coordinate. My staff and Derek's team are on a first name basis. So having those connections, being involved with people who are repeat players in the process just makes everything much smoother. And then of course, we, in a normal world, we attend closing with you.
Oh, I wanted to say.
Yeah, in a normal world, we attend closing with you.
Yes. Go ahead, Ernie. It's hard. It's got a little.
Yeah, so we're going to attend closing. We'll review all the closing documents with you. We'll make sure that the property gets transferred in the way that you're expecting, and help with that part of the process.
I like what you said about working with people you've worked before and in-house. And that's part of why I wanted to chat with you two. I've done the most deals with you two. And sometimes buyers and sellers, they appreciate having that network. And other times I think they don't understand why it's so important. And especially now with these changes where we're doing touch-free closings and, you know, it's even more important that you know who you're working with so that you know this transaction is going to happen and that your client is the most protected that they can be.
Yeah, absolutely. This is not rocket science. This is, you know, I joke that all the brainiacs are on the other side of the office. They're the ones handling the estate planning and protecting your net worth. I like to think of what I do as running a factory. There's some complex elements to what we do, but really what you're looking for as a client is for the process just to go as smoothly as possible. You just want to buy or sell your house and make sure you're not taking any unnecessary risk. And when everybody's familiar with the process and knows each other, it goes a lot smoother. We get a lot of folks that work with out-of-state lenders. Some of them do a great job. Some of them have no idea how we do things in Illinois. In a lot of the states, they don't have attorneys. They may not even have title insurance in the way that we do here. So there's a lot of unknown variables when you're working with out-of-state folks.
Thank you for that, because I, again, as the role of the broker, I think sometimes we can get seen as you know, being pushed to use certain people for other reasons when you really break it down for them. I did have a buyer that was qualified with an out-of-state lender, and I explained just what you said. Well, we want to make sure they know what the Illinois laws are because you have to be protected. And as much as I would like to also be able to play that legal role in a transaction, I'm not a lawyer. I didn't go to enough school for that. Derek, I have another question for you. When it comes to down payment, are you seeing that people are swaying towards doing more like 10 to 15%, or are you still hovering around those solid applications with the 20% or more down? Or does it matter for program to program?
You know, you're not really necessarily going to like my answer, but, you know, we're seeing a lot, and we're seeing it vary, right? I mean, I still have programs where you can get anyone the property as low as 3%, right? However, I always like to say my magic number is 10% because at that point, things get just a little bit easier for condos. We're looking at a minimal review as opposed to a full project approval whenever you're getting someone into a condo. But I mean, we're seeing a wide array of people still putting on a very different down payments. I will tell you that all like the 0-1% down loans, I'm not seeing any of those anymore. Particularly, a lot of programs have been suspended. And again, what we touched on earlier, that's just a testament of things being tightened up a little bit. All right. But, you know, again, we're seeing anywhere from 20 to 5% down. I do have some 3% down loans as well.
Great. And then, you know, one more thing that I wanted to bring up is that we are in all three of our roles doing as much as we can to have online interactions. So from the start, if you are interested in buying or selling, I would be happy to set up a Zoom call such as this. And that's when we can really talk about what you're looking for, then get you in touch with Derek, who would talk to you about different loan programs, tell you how to apply. And then once we get to the point where either we are under contract as a buyer or have accepted a contract as a seller, we loop in Ernie, and you know, he kind of joins in on the whole cycle of it in the team. And Ernie, you've been taking part in these touch-free closings, and you found that they're pretty, you know, straightforward. It's just a matter of handing off paperwork and having them sign it.
Yeah, absolutely. So on a normal deal, obviously there's some level of interaction with Janet on the front end, but but we're finding that a lot of that process can be done with virtual communication. And I would say a lot of Derek's clients, I would wager, never meet him in person, and before, unless he comes to the closing, or they meet at closing, right? You get through the whole
wager
process.
that correctly there, Ernie.
Yeah, you're gonna talk. Yeah, he's a photo. He's a guy on a computer, and there's a benefit to that. I mean, it improves efficiency. People used to have to drop off documents with their lender and meet them in person, and you don't really have to do that anymore. And the closing part of things, that's the one part that's changed. We're used to sitting in the room with the client when the closing comes and going over the documents with them, but we're finding that we can do everything online too. So very much like we're on a Zoom call here with my clients. We log onto a Zoom chat, I click on the share screen button on my computer, and I highlight through the closing package with them, and we go over everything one by one. And we can do that before closing, or sometimes we do it at the closing. And our buyers have the option of either going into the closing office and signing in a room where they're getting a fresh pen, closers has PPE on, and they're the only ones in the room, or they have the option at some title companies of signing everything in their car. It's a little unwieldy, but if you want to, you can do the drive-through. It's just about as easy as going to McDonald's. So there are options available depending on your level of comfort, get deals done. There's no reason to think that that will be changing anytime soon. And you know, especially with clients who are in a more vulnerable position, that the title companies are ready and willing to accommodate. So we can still get deals done.
Right. Well, again, thank you guys for your time. I would say bottom line here is that things are going to continue to change day to day and week to week. And our industry has done a fantastic job of staying on top of those changes and adapting so that we can continue to help our clients buy and sell their properties. If you have other questions, you can email me, janet.keogh@bairdwarner.com, and I will post all of the contact information for the three of us below, assuming that that's how I post this. If you have any parting messages, either of you?
I just want to reiterate, Janet, that I have seen more activity over the last week than I've seen in the last 2 months, just in terms of excitement of the market, buyers and sellers getting out and being engaged. I think it's a good time to buy. It's a good time to sell. And I wouldn't have said that a month ago. It was a little more shaky a month ago for some categories of buyers and sellers. But I think that the market's getting some clarity, and I think people are moving forward with deals. So we're all adjusting, and we're ready to help.
Yeah, you know, and going off with what Ernie said, you know, there's a lot of activity right now, you know, so if you're considering going out there and buying, I would think now more so than ever, get out there now. Don't wait for this to be over, because there's a lot of people out there right now that are already shopping, already putting contracts on places, right? So please use all of us as a resource, as we're all here to help in these especially unprecedented times.
Oh, you had to get it in there.
Uh-huh.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Janet.
I'll talk to you soon. Bye, Derek.
Thanks, Janet.